begins in
Hello
the freezing
guys,
Antarctic
वीडियो
Ocean
को
during a
लाइक
brutal
करो,
winter.
चैनल
A
को
massive
सब्सक्राइब
ship
भी
is
कर
trapped in
देना।
the middle of frozen ice, completely stuck and unable to move. The ship's captain is doing everything possible to keep his crew and passengers safe in this life-threatening situation. The temperature keeps dropping dangerously, and everyone knows that surviving much longer in these conditions seems nearly impossible. On one particularly stormy night, with snow and wind howling around them, the crew suddenly hears desperate screams cutting through the darkness. Someone is calling for help. The captain and several brave crew members rush toward the voice. They discover a man in terrible condition, barely clinging to life. With tears streaming down his frozen face, the man begs them, "Please, either rescue me or kill me right now. Just don't leave me here to suffer anymore." The captain feels compassion for this suffering stranger and decides to bring him aboard the ship. But the moment they start helping the man onto the ship, something horrifying emerges from the darkness. A massive creature appears, moving toward them with frightening speed. This monster was hunting the man they just rescued. In the dim light, everyone can only see the creature's enormous arms and long tentacles reaching out toward the ship. The monster climbs aboard and immediately begins attacking the crew members with brutal violence. The sailors fight back desperately, firing their guns repeatedly at the creature. But every bullet bounces off harmlessly. Nothing seems to hurt this monster at all. Seeing that regular weapons are useless, one soldier grabs a powerful rocket launcher and fires it directly at the creature. The rocket hits with a massive explosion, but even this doesn't kill the monster. It simply gets knocked off the ship and falls into the icy water below. Now the creature becomes enraged. From beneath the ship, it starts shaking the entire vessel with incredible force. The violent movements cause serious damage throughout the ship, and everyone's life is in immediate danger. The captain thinks quickly under pressure. He spots large chunks of ice floating near where the monster is treading water. Using a heavy metal object, he strikes the ice with tremendous force. The ice cracks and shatters, and the monster sinks down into the freezing depths, buried under broken ice. Everyone breathes with relief, believing the creature must surely be dead now. Morning arrives, and the captain approaches the man they rescued. He needs answers. How did that monster come to be chasing you? What's your story? The rescued man takes a deep breath and begins revealing his past. As he speaks, the movie takes us back in time. We see a young boy named Victor at age 12. His father was a respected scientist with high hopes for his son. He pushed Victor hard to follow his path and become a brilliant scientist and doctor. Through years of intense study and dedication, Victor achieved his father's dream, becoming a scientist at an incredibly young age. But then tragedy destroyed their family. Victor's mother fell seriously ill. Despite all their scientific knowledge and medical expertise, neither Victor nor his father could save her. She died, leaving Victor broken and angry. He confronted his father bitterly. "What's the point of all this science if we couldn't even save Mother? What good is our knowledge if we're powerless when it really matters?" His father tried to explain. "Son, bringing the dead back to life is impossible. It's beyond human capability." But Victor refused to accept this. Something changed inside him that day. He became obsessed with a new goal. He would find a way to defeat death itself. He would discover a method to bring dead people back to life, something even his brilliant father couldn't do. The movie briefly returns to the present. We see that the monster everyone thought was dead suddenly emerges from the frozen water, completely unharmed. The creature doesn't even seem affected by the killing cold. After showing us this shocking moment, the story returns to Victor's past. Years passed with Victor working tirelessly on his obsession. He conducted countless experiments, trying every possible method. Finally, at age 30, Victor made a breakthrough. He discovered a technique to revive human life using electrical currents and human organs. Excited about his achievement, he arranged a meeting with wealthy investors to demonstrate his work and get funding. In front of these important businessmen, Victor revealed his creation, a partially formed human body brought to life through his electrical machine. Instead of amazement, the audience reacted with horror and disgust. They shouted accusations at Victor, calling him a madman trying to play God. They said he was challenging the natural order of life and death. The businessmen angrily demanded he stop his experiments immediately and told him to leave. But Victor wasn't finished. To prove his creation truly lived, he threw a ball toward the creature. Everyone watched in shock as it caught the ball and even spoke a few words. This terrified the audience even more. They all demanded Victor leave immediately, and not a single person would invest in his research. Defeated, Victor had to abandon his suffering creation and leave. The truth was that powerful people feared Victor's success for selfish reasons. If everyone could bring the dead back to life, populations would explode and create chaos that would threaten their wealth and control. As Victor was leaving in despair, a wealthy businessman approached him privately. This man had everything money could buy except the one thing he desperately wanted: more time to live. He suffered from a fatal illness that no doctor could cure. Watching Victor's demonstration gave him hope for the first time in years. The businessman made Victor an incredible offer. "I'll give you unlimited funding. Build your own laboratory anywhere you want. Get any equipment you need. Complete your experiment successfully, and then save my life." Victor was thrilled. Finally, he had the resources to pursue his dream. Victor immediately went to share this news with his brother William. At William's house, he met Elizabeth, William's wife. She gave Victor important advice. There's a thin line between science and playing God. Use science for good, but never forget you're only human. Victor traveled to a remote location and found an abandoned mansion far from civilization. He transformed it into his laboratory and ordered 2 enormous silver antennas built. His plan was to use lightning strikes to generate the massive electrical power needed to bring a complete human to life. With support from William and Elizabeth, Victor completed his laboratory. He began serious experiments, but kept failing. Then Elizabeth offered crucial advice: start fresh. Study your own body and build your creation to match exactly how humans really work. Victor understood. He started over, carefully studying human movement and anatomy. He connected bones and muscles with wires to enable movement. After completing the basic structure, he needed organs: heart, lungs, brain, and everything else. At that time, what was happening nearby? Victor made a dark decision. He collected dead bodies from battlefields and brought them to his lab. In a gruesome process, he cut open each corpse and removed the organs he needed. He took eyes from one body, a nose from another, a heart from a third. Piece by piece, he assembled a complete human from parts of many different dead people. When Victor finally completed the body, he named it Frankenstein. He connected its heart to an electrical machine and waited for a thunderstorm. Finally, dark clouds gathered. That same day, the businessman who funded everything arrived at the laboratory. Victor asked him, "What exactly do you want from me?" The businessman's answer was disturbing. "When I die, bring me back to life like this creature. Or put my brain and heart into this body, so I can live on." Victor refused. "No, I won't tamper with Frankenstein." The businessman became furious, and they fought violently. During the struggle, the businessman fell and died from the impact. At that exact moment, lightning struck Victor's antenna. The electrical charge flowed into Frankenstein's body. But when Victor checked, the creature showed no signs of life. After all his work, the experiment had failed. Exhausted and devastated, Victor collapsed and fell asleep. When Victor woke the next morning, he couldn't believe his eyes. Frankenstein was standing, moving around. The creature was alive. But Frankenstein, wrapped in bandages and moving strangely, looked. Even Victor felt afraid of his own creation. He locked Frankenstein in a secret basement room. Victor realized Frankenstein had an adult body but the mind of a newborn baby. He began teaching him to speak, starting with, "I am Victor." Frankenstein repeated in a rough, inhuman voice, "I am Victor." Day by day, Victor taught him how to live like a human. But Victor made a critical mistake. He forgot that Frankenstein was mentally a child who needed patience and kindness. Days later, William and Elizabeth came to visit. Victor was worried because he had killed Elizabeth's uncle and hidden the body. Elizabeth heard noises from the basement and went to investigate. She discovered Frankenstein and was amazed rather than frightened. She said warmly, "You're so big," and asked his name. Elizabeth began teaching Frankenstein using simple, child-appropriate methods. She taught him about water, air, and fire. Victor noticed Frankenstein understood Elizabeth's lessons much better than his own, which made him jealous and angry. In his anger, Victor told William, Take Elizabeth and leave now. This creature is dangerous. He killed Elizabeth's uncle. He showed them the hidden body. If you value your lives, leave today. I'm going to destroy this creature. William rushed Elizabeth out of the mansion. Victor then poured gasoline throughout the building and set it on fire. The entire laboratory exploded in flames. The explosion threw Victor outside, and his leg was horribly injured, almost completely severed from his body. William saw what happened and quickly took Victor and Elizabeth back to the city. The movie returns to the present. The monster everyone thought was buried under ice has climbed back onto the ship. He's been setting fires throughout the vessel. The captain confronts Frankenstein directly. Is Victor's story true? Are you really a dangerous killer? Frankenstein replies, No, that's only half the truth. I've never killed any innocent person. Yes, I'm angry at Victor and want revenge for what he did, but I'm not a murderer. Frankenstein then tells his side of the story. After the explosion, he barely escaped through a basement passage that led into a forest. He wandered those woods alone for years. Victor never considered what would happen to a being with a child's mind abandoned in a harsh world. Animals fled in fear from Frankenstein's appearance. He was completely alone. Hunters who spotted him would attack immediately, thinking he was a monster. Once, hunters shot him repeatedly. He ran to an old house and hid inside. When he regained consciousness, all his wounds had healed completely. His body could regenerate. While hiding in that house, Frankenstein watched the family living there. He saw their love and care for each other and longed desperately for the same thing. He secretly watched a blind grandfather teaching his granddaughter. Without anyone knowing, Frankenstein learned their language by listening. He observed how they lived and behaved. He wanted to become part of this loving family. He began secretly helping them, chopping wood and leaving it for them, hunting deer to provide them meat. The family wondered who their mysterious helper was. The grandfather would simply say, "Perhaps God is helping us." Eventually, the family moved to the city, but the blind grandfather stayed behind. The old man had known about Frankenstein all along. Even though he couldn't see, he could hear Frankenstein moving around. Unlike everyone else, the grandfather considered Frankenstein a human being and knew he had been helping them out of kindness. After the family left, Frankenstein appeared before the old man, who welcomed him warmly. The kind grandfather taught Frankenstein everything: how to read, how to live properly, how to understand the world. For the first time, Frankenstein felt truly accepted and happy. One day, the grandfather asked, "Where did you come from?" Frankenstein didn't know how to answer. The old man suggested, "Try to remember the last place you were before coming here." Frankenstein remembered the laboratory. The grandfather encouraged him, "Go there and find answers about who you are." Frankenstein returned to Victor's destroyed laboratory and found journals explaining the truth. He wasn't born but created from dead people's parts. The journals contained Victor's address. Frankenstein decided to find Victor and ask him to create a companion so he wouldn't have to be alone anymore. Excited to share this news, Frankenstein rushed back to the grandfather's house. But he found a terrible scene. The old man had been attacked by wolves and was dying. Frankenstein was heartbroken. "You can't die. You're my only friend." While they were talking, the grandfather's sons arrived. Seeing Frankenstein with their injured father, they assumed he had attacked the old man. Without asking questions, they shot Frankenstein repeatedly until he collapsed unconscious. They thought he was dead and left with their father's body. The next day, Frankenstein woke, healed again, but the grandfather was gone. Frankenstein found Victor at a party with William, eating and celebrating. Seeing Victor living happily while he had suffered so much enraged Frankenstein. He attacked Victor, shouting, "I will kill you." Victor replied, "Then do it. I regret creating a monster like you." Frankenstein tried to explain, "I'm not a monster." But Victor pulled out a gun. Elizabeth rushed between them, trying to stop the violence. Tragically, the bullet hit Elizabeth instead. She died in Frankenstein's arms. The grandfather and Elizabeth were the only two people who had treated Frankenstein with kindness. Now both were gone. William, devastated by his wife's death, blamed Victor for ruining everything and threw him out. Now Victor became obsessed with revenge against Frankenstein. He tracked him down and violently cut off Frankenstein's nose. "I will have my revenge," Victor declared. Frankenstein replied calmly, "If you want revenge, then find me. Years passed with Victor hunting Frankenstein across the world. Finally, Frankenstein appeared voluntarily and said, "Give me whatever can kill me. I'll end my own life. But if I don't die, I'll kill you." Victor gave him a bomb. Frankenstein used it, causing a massive explosion. But as always, he survived and regenerated. From that day on, Frankenstein hunted Victor, torturing him as promised. While doing so, Victor called the ship's captain for help, which brought them to the scene at the movie's beginning. Now, having told his complete story, Frankenstein says to Victor, "In the beginning, all I wanted was for you to create a companion so I wouldn't be alone. That's all." Victor's eyes fill with tears. "I'm sorry. I created you, but never trusted you. I abandoned you." Victor is dying from his injuries. With his last words, he says, "You must forgive me and live on after I'm gone." Frankenstein forgives him. Victor dies peacefully. Everyone on the ship cries witnessing this moment. Frankenstein walks out onto the ice and uses his strength to free the ship from the iceberg, saving everyone aboard. As the ship sails away, the crew waves goodbye to Frankenstein. He waves back, standing alone on the frozen ice. Frankenstein feels deep sadness watching humans leave him behind once again. But he has accepted his fate now. He will live the rest of his existence alone, away from the world that never accepted him.